Welcome back to Black Union Address. I'm your host, Heru Adamu. This week, politics get personal and powerful. When Representative Jasmine Crockett stood her ground against Donald Trump's latest attacks, she didn't just defend herself, she defended the voice of every black woman who refuses to be silent.
Like they finally twisted somebody's arm to get off the discharge petition. Um, our representative-elect Grijalva will be signature number 218, forcing every single member in the House, Democrats and Republicans, to take a vote on the release of the Epstein files. And interestingly enough, a lot of people have asked, do you think that the shutdown is a distraction from this? And part of it, yeah, I think anything that the president can do to get people to distract from Epstein, he's going to do it. But the fact that he's willing to swear her in now almost convinces me that the White House has twisted somebody to jump off so that we still will be down and not have the full 218.
Because there were, was it 3 House Republicans who were?
4.
Well, Thomas Massey, they're not going to get him to.
They're not going to get him, no.
But there were a few others that there were questions of the White House.
Marjorie is one of them.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, Nancy Mace, I believe, was one other.
Nancy.
In terms of trying to get
Anna
them
Paulina
to change their
Luna,
minds.
I think, is the other one.
So you think that maybe this means the White House successfully convinced one of them to,
I do.
to change that?
do.
Does that mean that you think that ultimately this vote won't be successful?
Well, we won't even have a vote. So if we don't have the full 218 signatures, then we won't be able to put it on the floor for a vote. If we get it to the floor for a vote, it'll pass. And I think it'll pass with more than the 218 that it took for the discharge petition, because I don't think some people want to be on record as voting to support pedophiles, even though we know in their actions they are absolutely supporting pedophiles.
So if your instinct bears out, what happens then with this
well,
big
we have
push?
another special election that's coming up. We've got another 2 special elections coming up, one in Tennessee for a Republican seat, and maybe we'll have a miracle since Democrats have been overperforming by approximately no less than 10 points. And then we have a special election for a Democratic seat down in Houston.
Okay, and I'm not sure if you saw this today. People in the White House certainly saw this interview that the Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, did with the New York Post, where he was actually talking about Jeffrey Epstein. He was had long had a house next to his in New York, and he was talking about this moment when he and his wife met Jeffrey Epstein, and this is what Howard Lutnick had to say.
I say to him, massage table in the middle of your house? How often do you have a massage? And he says, every day. And then he gets weirdly close to me.
Ooh.
And he says, and the right kind of massage. And in the 6 or 8 steps it takes to get from his house to my house, my wife and I decided that I will never be in the room with that disgusting person ever again. That's what his MO was, get a massage, get a massage. And what happened in that massage room, I assume was on video.
Now, on that front, he suggested that the prosecutors struck an agreement with Jeffrey Epstein because he handed over videos of people getting massages at his house. Some of the people he named denied that, I should note. But I wonder the White House was kind of irritated, I think. Some people in the White House, I'll say, by that interview, because obviously this is not something they want to talk about. What's your take on that interview?
I had an opportunity to sit down in the transcribed interview of Alex Acosta. And so I was able to actually do my lawyering as I was asking him questions about why it is that he decided to basically give out a sweetheart deal, a deal that he says even today, when he looks back, he doesn't look at it as a sweetheart deal. Now, his excuse was that the victims just weren't credible enough. He felt like they had credibility issues. He felt like they would be impeached. And it was very weird for me to hear as someone who has been a defense attorney, who has had to defend against these kind of cases. Usually it is a prosecutor's dream because most juries want to believe, especially a child victim, they never want to get it wrong. And so it is very difficult to overcome that. And so he wasn't giving me satisfactory answers. But, listening to that, it seems like, much like my own gut in this particular case, there was more than enough to go after Epstein, and there was just a lot that Alex wasn't telling us.
So this all comes, you're talking about this potentially being tied to the government shutdown. Right now, neither chamber is in session here. As you know, it's very quiet here on Capitol Hill tonight. What we've seen, though, from the White House is not silence. They're actually, using all of their government websites to say this is Democrats pushing this shutdown. I think we can show you some of those websites showing these messages, blaming Democrats for this shutdown, HUD, DOJ, State Department, Agriculture. Do you think that they're being more effective in their messaging in terms of putting this blame on Democrats?
I think they're being a lot more illegal in their messaging. The first thing that I wanted to know was, how can this not be a violation of the Hatch Act in some way, right? Because we are not allowed to politic on official sites, period, right? And that's what they're doing. They literally change official government websites to put out their propaganda. Instead of just saying we're currently in a shutdown, you decided to play partisan politics on an official website. And I guess there is no limit to what they won't do, because they do the exact same thing when we walk into committee. Instead of us having real committee hearings where we are actually able to get information that may somehow help the American people understand what's going on, instead, it's always a campaign rally that they're doing when we walk into committee, and it's more spewing of their propaganda. So I don't think that they're being more effective. I think that they are being more illegal in the ways that they're going about making sure that they can push out the information. I think that the American people are smart. As I was sitting here waiting to come on, I was going through my email, and almost at the top of my email was an email from a federal worker that said, "Keep up the great work. We will be okay. This is too important." So even in this moment, we are getting emails, or at least I am, from federal workers that understand the sacrifice that is happening right now. But this idea that, the retribution is going to be that since the government is shut down, then we're going to call in his henchman, Russell Vought, so that he can go and do what he's been doing. But he's been doing that with no permission. We've had to go to court, I don't know how many times, to say, no, you were wrong. You can't fire those people. So what difference does it make? They have consistently violated the law, whether it was statute or whether it was the Constitution. There is nothing different about this, in addition to the fact, when we're talking about violating law, how about impoundment? The very first thing that we talked about when we first got in is that there have been laws that have been signed into law. And what did they do? They sent in Elon Musk, and he started illegally just deciding he wasn't going to send out certain dollars today that people are still missing, that we had appropriated. So what assurances do we have if we entered into an agreement with these Republicans that they wouldn't go back on their word and just say, oh yeah, we'll sign off on a rescissions package? Everything that the Democrats fought for, such as health care assurances around the Affordable Care Act, yeah, we'll make sure that that holds. We don't have any assurances.
We've seen that argument from other Democrats. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, thank you for joining us tonight.
It's good to see you.
And there you have it. Jasmine Crockett addresses America amid government shutdown and still no Epstein files. See, what we just witnessed wasn't political. It was generational. Black women have carried this country through every storm, from organized votes to shaping vision, and still, they're the first to be questioned and the last to be credited. Jasmine Crockett didn't argue. She educated. Coming up, we shift from policy to pain and talk about the cost of pressure in sports. We often cheer the highlight reels, but forget the human being behind the helmet. This week, the name Kyren Lacy reminded the world that even at the height of success, pressure can feel like a weight too heavy to carry. When the media rushes to judge before facts come out, we lose sight of humanity, and that's where the real damage begins.
If you're an LSU fan or someone who follows college football, you're probably aware, even if loosely, of what transpired with former LSU wide receiver Kyren Lacy in the early part of 2025. If you're not familiar, the quick catch up is on December the 17th in Lafourche Parish, which is in the southern part of Louisiana, near Kyren Lacy's hometown. There was a fatal car accident. 78-year-old man died in that wreck. Kyren Lacy, about a month later, on January 13th, was arrested in connection with that fatal accident. He was charged with vehicular homicide, felony hit and run with a death, and reckless operation of a vehicle. It was alleged at the time that Kyren Lacy was driving recklessly. There was a no passing zone. He was allegedly speeding through this no passing zone, facing oncoming traffic, caused a vehicle to swerve, which ultimately led to a fatal wreck. That's what was in the initial Lafourche Parish police report. As Kyren Lacy was awaiting his legal proceedings, he was in Houston on April the 12th when he committed suicide. And now we have information that has come to light from Kyren Lacy's attorney, Matt Orey, which, in my mind, and I'm certain for everyone who consumes this information, will completely exonerate Kyren Lacy, and beyond a shadow of a doubt will prove that he was not only not guilty, he was innocent. That is now ridiculous when you see what you're about to see. This is what if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it. If you're listening on podcast, what you're going to hear is attorney Matt Orey, Kyren Lacy's attorney, describing this footage. And this is footage of the fatal crash. And then seconds after the fatal crash, Kyren Lacy in a green Dodge Charger driving up to slowly and past this wreck, certainly not causing the wreck.
At some point in time, you're going to see the collision, which we're going to know is vehicle number 2 from oncoming traffic colliding with the vehicle of Mr. Hall. You will see another vehicle come to a stop, and then you'll see Kyren Lacy come to a stop.
So as we've seen the video, it looks like the impact happens, and then Kyren Lacy is behind him. How far away was he from there?
Well, yeah, that's the beauty of the investigative report that I now have my hands on. We know from data that Kyren Lacy did, in fact, pass 4 cars. There's no disputing that. Further north, Kyren Lacy passed 4 cars. However, he was back in his lane of travel, 92.3 yards. Back in his lane, behind Mr. Hall. At the time of impact, he's 72.6 yards behind the vehicles at the time of impact. Keyword, behind the vehicles. That is not how this story was ever painted. Never.
Kyren Lacy was a star player at LSU, and he was projected to go to the NFL, but unalived himself due to the stress of this situation. Stories like Kyren force us to ask questions. How do we protect these black athletes from narratives moving faster than the truth? Where's the support system when fame starts to feel like isolation? The conversation isn't about guilt or innocence. It's about grace. Because the same intensity that drives greatness can also breed burnout if we don't make space for mental wellness. This kid was pretty much a superstar and going to be a millionaire and be able to take care of his family. But sadly, we have to deal with this situation from false evidence, putting too much pressure on the kid. RP to Kyren Lacy and condolences to his family. After this break, we'll take a look at some science and tech, from the resilience to reinvention. We explore how innovation is creating new wealth in tech. Let's talk innovation, not just gadgets, but genius. Silas Adekunle turned robotics into revenue, proving that creativity and code can change a generation. From Legos to London to global tech stages, his story shows what happens when culture meets curiosity.
Meet Silas Adekunle, the Nigerian genius who revolutionized the world of gaming with the first intelligent gaming robot. Born in Nigeria, Silas moved to the UK at 12, where he earned a first-class robotics degree and an honorary Doctor of Technology degree. Silas co-founded Reach Robotics, merging augmented reality gaming with STEM education, and introduced Mechamon, a lifelike four-legged robot. Mechamon wasn't just a toy, it brought video games to life, controlled by an app that opened doors to endless digital adventures. Silas raised $12 million in investments, growing Reach Robotics to 65 employees and securing a major deal with Apple to sell Mechamon. Despite being the highest paid in robotic engineering, Reach Robotics faced industry challenges and closed in 2019. In 2022, Blueprint Lab revived the name, Reach Robotics, but Silas had already shifted his focus to robotics education in Africa. He founded Awori, promoting AI and robotics technology across the continent, and became the CEO of RI, aiding developers in managing robots and IoT devices. Silas's groundbreaking work earned him global recognition, including spots on the Financial Times' Top 100 Minority Ethnic Leaders in Technology, and Forbes' 30 Under 30 Europe technology list. Silas Adekunle continues to inspire the next generation of tech innovators, proving that with vision and determination, the future is limitless.
Silas didn't wait for opportunity, he engineered it. He took STEM from the classroom to the corner office, becoming one of the highest paid innovators in robotics. What makes him special isn't just his skill, it's his mindset. He builds systems that serve people, not just profits. That's real tech revolution, turning innovation into liberation. Next up, we talk wealth, wisdom, and walking in purpose with Myron Golden. That purpose pays. Now, this brother right here, he's proof that purpose pays. Myron Golden went from financial struggle to multi-million-dollar success, all while staying rooted in faith. His message, wealth isn't a miracle, it's a method.
The internet gives everybody access to you. So you can tell your story. So you can let people know what value you've created for them while they weren't watching. So now they can pay you, right? The internet. A couple things I would learn to do on the internet. One, I would learn to post content on social media platforms on the internet and on your phone. I would learn how to do that. Not content, oh, this is what I had for breakfast. I mean, that's fine if that's, right? But content that lets people know what you can do for them. That's why I call this video and content like this my community service content. I charge people a lot of money to work with me. So what I do for people that don't have a lot of money, buy one of my books. It's $20, $30. Or watch my content on YouTube. You don't have to pay anything but attention, right? So use the internet to post content. Use the internet to do research. Now, a couple different kinds of research I would do. One, I would do search engine keyword research, because YouTube is a search engine, okay? People think YouTube is social media. YouTube is a search engine. And YouTube is owned, it's the second largest search engine in the world, owned by the largest search engine in the world, which is Google. So Google has this tool called the Google Keyword Planner. When you go to the Google Keyword Planner, it will tell you, you type in a keyword or a keyword phrase, it will tell you how many searches per month there are for that phrase. Are y'all tracking? How many searches per month there are for that phrase? Well, if there are 100,000 searches per month, now, there's a caveat. If you're going to in order to use the Google Keyword Planner, you have to open a Google AdWords account, a Google ad account. You don't have to buy any ads, but you have to open the account, okay? And then they'll let you use the tool for free. They'll tell you how many searches there are per month. If there are, let's say there's 100,000 searches a month for a keyword phrase, I would go Google that phrase and see what comes up. If no video comes up, create a video with that exact keyword phrase as the title. And that video, put links back to your site or back to your offers, that video will be on the first page of Google within a couple of days as under organic search. I know, that's so simple, right? There's a website called answerthepublic.com. It tells you, like you type in a question, it tells you all the related questions that are related to that question. If you make your content based on like heavy content search on Answer the Public, you will create content that people will want to find, and watch if you have answers for the questions the public is asking. You can make that the source of your blog content, your YouTube content, your TikTok content, your Instagram, whatever, because that's what people are looking for. Okay.
Myron teaches that success online responds to mindset and mastery. He built his influence using principles, not algorithms, faith, focus, and follow through. That's how you turn content into currency and creativity into legacy. His story is a reminder you don't need virality to prosper, just vision and value. Now, let's bring it home because all that money in the world means nothing without your health. Before we chase the bag, we've got to protect the body, the perfect body. Dr. Yahki Awakened reminds us that real health starts with alignment, mind, body, and spirit.
Would you say that stress can kill somebody?
Stress does kill. Stress
Well,
kills.
is there a difference between good stress and bad stress?
The body needs stress. Stress is very, very important as well. You know, for instance, when you wake up at 6 a.m., when the sun come out, that's blue light spectrum that's coming from the actual sun.
Right.
You know, that's a stress hormone. At 6 a.m., from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., 6 a.m. to 10 a.m., cortisol rise. And the reason why cortisol rise, because it works with serotonin. This is what makes you serious. This is where you get serotonin from. It makes you serious.
Right.
Then the cortisol starts tapering off and declining during the day for melatonin can come in and make you mellow for you can go to sleep. So, you know, you need cortisol. Cortisol is very, very essential for the body. And if I'm in the wilderness and I see a lion or a tiger and bear, I will hope that my adrenals will know how to release a bunch of cortisol
Right.
for I can go.
Right.
You know, so you need it for fight or flight, but you're not supposed to be in fight or flight the whole time.
Right.
Cortisol is one of the most leading cause to what I would say, you know, I got to do quote unquote disease than anything else. And if you look at the program and the 9 to 5s that they got us in, you look at the rat race that they got us on, we chasing money to pay bills and we never happy. We working to be 60 to just get a small thing that they call a pension or retirement. They're putting us in these cubicles away from the natural sun. We can't go through natural biophotomodulation. We drinking contaminated water. All of our foods got microplastics in it. And let's not even talk about the seed oil epidemic that is killing, that is really fueling heart disease.
Yep.
You know, really fuel. It's really the way we cooking our food and using these seed oils. Very rancid, very rancid. So when you look at it from that standpoint, our body is constantly fighting.
Right.
So we in a state of fight or flight 24 hours out of the day, when technically, according to the circadian rhythm, you only supposed to be in a light stage of fight or flight for 2 to 4 hours a day, unless you in the wilderness and you're running from your life. So insulin resistance kick in, the glycocalyx and the glycobiome, or what you'll call the microbiome, get very disrupted. You know, you start getting all of these different symptomologies, and then what we do is we run to the doctor to get our symptomologies checked out, and they will give a name to those symptomologies called a disease. But if you look at what the body's doing, the body is constantly trying to recalibrate and regulate itself, which is a healing mechanism, a healing response.
Like Dr. Yahki always says, balance isn't just spiritual, it's biochemical. When your stress hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, all that stay up too long, your body's running in survival mode. That's why your mind races, your sleep slips, and your peace feels out of reach. Dr. Yahki teaches the herbs, breath work, and clean living help rest those chemicals, reset those chemicals, and bring your body back into harmony. Because peace isn't just passive, it's something you practice. Control the chemistry, protect your calm, and let your body remember what balance feels like. I'm out of here, guys. I'll see you guys next time. Again, it's Heru Adamu with Black Union Address.